Hi there, this is going to be piano video tutorial 2. We're going to learn how to make chords. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on the note C, which if you watch the previous video I show you how to identify C and all the other notes. So here's my C, my middle C, and I want to make a C chord, okay? Now, there are different kinds of chords. There are major chords, there are minor chords, there are diminished chords, there are augmented chords, there are dominant chords. There are many different kinds of chords, but we're going to start with two kinds of chords. We're going to start with major chords and minor chords. Okay? If we say that a chord is a C chord, that means that it's a C major chord. Major is the default type of chord. So if we say that a chord is just a letter name, or a letter with a sharp or a flat on it, then it's just going to be a major chord. Okay? If we see a chord written down with a letter and a lowercase m, or with a minus sign or a dash next to it, that's going to be a minor chord. And we're going to look at what those two chords look like today. Okay? If I start on C and I want to make a major chord, I'm going to need to go up from this note. To find the next note of the chord, I'm going to need to know to go up 4 half steps, or 4 notes. So I'm going to go from here, I'm going to start on the next note. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that distance is called a major third. The reason it's called a major third is because it's the third note, from the distance from the first to the third note of the major scale. Do, re, mi. And if we kept going, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Okay, so that's going to be 1, 2, 3, the third note. So from the first to the third note of the major scale is called a major third. And that's going to be one of our increments of measurement that we're going to use, one of our chunks. Alright, now from the note that I landed on here, which is E, I need to now go up 3 notes, or 3 half steps. So I'm going to go from here, I'm going to start on the next one. 1, 2, 3. And now that's going to be the next note in my chord. So these 3 notes together, that's C, E, and G, are going to make a C chord, or a C major chord. Now, there's also the possibility of making a minor chord, and if I were to do that, I would invert the intervals, which would mean that instead of counting up from here 1, 2, 3, 4, and then from here 1, 2, 3, I would count instead from here 1, 2, 3, and play this note, and then from here I would go 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is a C minor chord. That's C, E flat, and G. Now, I just want to go back and explain something, which is that the distance now from here, 1, 2, 3, in a C minor scale, which goes like this, the third note is E flat. So the distance from C to E flat is called a minor third. A minor third is 1, 2, 3 half steps away from another note. So now we have the lower increment, the lower interval here is going to be a minor third, and then the upper interval is 1, 2, 3, 4 is our major third. That would be the same distance as if we were going from C to E. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So here's a C minor. The only difference between a C major and a C minor is that the middle note, or the third, is either a major third away from the root, or it's a minor third away from the root. So it's the lower third that tells us what the character of the chord is, the character being the majorness or the minorness. So whichever, if we have a chord that's made up of the distance of 3 and the distance of 4, or the distance of 4 and the distance of 3, In other words, the two outer notes are 7 notes apart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And there's a note in the middle, either 3 away or 4 away from the root. The root being the same note as the name of the chord, the C. Then whichever the lower third is, so here's the lower third is a minor third, this is going to be a minor chord. Here, the lower third is the major third, that's going to make it a major chord. So that's how we make a major or a minor chord. So let's try that in a different place. Let's try that starting from another key. Okay, here we are at E. So if we want to make an E major chord, we're going to count up 4 and then 3. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's going to be the next note in our chord. That's going to be an A flat. Then we're going to go up from there, 1, 2, 3. And that's going to be our E major chord. It's going to be E, A flat, and B. Or, sorry, E, G sharp, I guess we should call it. E, G sharp, and B. We really want to use every other letter. Okay, now if we wanted to instead make an E minor chord, we would instead go only 1, 2, 3 up from E, and then from here, from G, we would now go 1, 2, 3, 4, and we would end up once again on B. So there's the E minor, and there's the E major. You'll notice that in this case, the major chord has a black key in it, has the G sharp, whereas the minor is all white keys. Whereas before, we had all white keys for a major chord, and the minor had a black key in it. So there's lots of different variations. Let's try one where we start from a black key. So here we're going to start with E flat. Let's make an E flat major chord. So we're going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, and then from there we're going to go up 1, 2, 3. And there's going to be our E flat major. To make it minor, we would instead go up 1, 2, 3, and then from there 1, 2, 3, 4. That's going to be an E flat minor chord. That's going to be E flat, G flat, and B flat. Alright, so that's how we make major and minor chords on the piano keyboard. See you next time.